the pandemic has disproportionately affected women, and at that, women of color. So we wanted to do something about that. So we launched Vest. Similar as Stitch Grew, it started not out of inspiration, but out of desperation. So Stitch Grew, it was a lack of resources and capital for entrepreneurs in the Heartland, particularly women and entrepreneurs of color. That's the type of companies we want to help, companies that are solving big problems and that are helping the community while they're doing it.
Hi, this is Angie Cooper with the Heartland team. Thank you for joining us today for our second edition of Meet Us in the Middle virtually. We're excited to have with us today Erika Lucas, who is founder of Stitch Crew and Vest, which is based in Oklahoma City. Erika, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to see you today.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. I love what you guys are doing, and thank you for what you do.
Absolutely. Well, let's just dive in because you are doing a lot of amazing things that we want to share with our Heartland network. So, to jump into the first question, you are what some might call a serial entrepreneur. You have spent much of your career working to build vibrant communities and entrepreneurs, and that's both in government and through various other organizations. We first connected with you at Heartland Summit related to your work at Stitch Crew. Tell us a bit about Stitch Crew and how you got started.
Yeah, so Stitch Crew started about almost 4 years ago, when we started noticing the disproportionate advantage that some entrepreneurs have in the coast because of where VC traditionally flows. So we started about 4 years ago. We partner with the Oklahoma City Thunder, which is our local MBA team, to host an accelerator program. So basically, it's just to connect high growth potential entrepreneurs with the capital and the resources that they need so that they can grow and launch and scale businesses here in the Heartland.
I love how you have partnered with OKC Thunder. It's such a great asset for Oklahoma City and the state of Oklahoma. And I know many times finding and connecting with a strong partner is so important in this space. How did that relationship start? And then would love to hear about, there's been so many great ideas and businesses that have started through the program to date and continue to positively impact the Oklahoma City economy. Can you tell us a little bit about both?
Yeah, so we love our partnership with the Oklahoma City Thunder. It was very intentional from the beginning. Actually, the idea of getting together and doing the accelerator was very organic. We were honestly having coffee and drinks, and we were talking about how to improve our community. And they had certain ideas, we had certain ideas, but we both believed that entrepreneurship was the fastest way to not only grow and diversify our economy, but do it in a way that's inclusive and intentional about what kind of businesses we wanted to see in the future. So it started by just having the relationships with the executive team and us and knowing each other. When we recruited them to bring the team to Oklahoma City, it's when we started fostering those relationships. So how Stitch Grew and the Thunder Launchpad and the Accelerator started was very organic. So so we love our partnership with them, and it's very intentional. And then your second question kind of was about some of the companies, right? Like an example company.
Right.
We just finished our last batch. We've done 6 batches. We're in the process of recruiting our 7th. And in the last batch, there's a company that I'm very excited about, that they're basically the Alexa for doctors that are prescribing treatment for type 2 diabetes patients. So that is going to be an incredible platform for doctors to expedite treatments, to pick the right treatments for their patients, but it's also hopefully going to reduce the cost of those treatments for the patients. So that's the type of companies we want to help, companies that are solving big problems and that are helping the community while they're doing it.
And tell us a little bit, how does someone, if they want to get involved in the program, how do they get involved? How long is the program? Give us a few more details about that as well.
Yeah, so we run 2 cohorts a year, one in the spring, one in the fall. We do everything virtually. Luckily, we created the platform to be remote friendly from the beginning. So given COVID and the pandemic, we were able to quickly shift to doing it virtually. So companies and founders can apply online if they go to www.stitchcrew.com. And yeah, and so the application is there. So it's very simple. You just fill out the application, submitted, and then we do interviews with the most promising companies. We select up to 10 companies per cohort. So every year, our goal is to help a minimum of 20 companies.
That's awesome. I love that. And lucky you that you had already built a platform that was easy and to turn on virtually, and easy to use right from the start. Stitch Crew is amazing. Encourage everyone to learn a little bit more about the partnership with OKC Thunder and the work that Erika and team are doing. But tell us about your next exciting venture, Vest. Being from Oklahoma, I'm thrilled to see something like this be lifted up. But this isn't just something for female leaders in Oklahoma, it's for women all across the Heartland. Give us some insights on how Vest was started and how someone might engage.
Yeah, so, you know, similar as Stitch Crew, it started not out of inspiration, but out of desperation. So Stitch Crew, it was a lack of resources and capital for entrepreneurs in the Heartland, particularly women and entrepreneurs of color. Vest is similar in that, particularly last year, we launched last year, and if you've kept track of the workforce dynamics and what the pandemic, the side effects of the pandemic and how it's impacting our economy, most of the job losses have been women. Most of the leadership positions have been women. So the pandemic has disproportionately affected women, and at that, women of color. So we wanted to do something about that. So we launched Vest, which is basically a curated community of influential women from C-suite to emerging leaders. And we get together to solve this problem. Like, how do we remove the barriers that often preclude women from reaching positions of influence and power? And how does that trickle down to emerging leaders so we can expedite the pipeline of more women in positions of power? So we started that in October of last year, and it just has skyrocketed. The reception has been great. A lot of women are interested. It's a membership based. We meet every month. We bring in a coach to kind of guide us through the conversations that we're having. Yeah, and so it's been great. It's just a support community for women in the workforce.
And you have some really strong partners and founders that have joined you with Vest. Can you share who background on those women and how you're working with them as you build out the program?
Yeah, absolutely. There are 6 founding members that I'm extremely proud and humbled to be working with them. Kathy Taylor, who for anybody that knows Kathy, she is just a trailblazer. She was a former mayor of the city of Tulsa. She has her own family foundation, but she has just done so much for the Tulsa community and for the state of Oklahoma in general. And then we have Elizabeth Frame Ellison, who is the CEO of Tulsa Mother Road Market and also leads the Lubbock Taylor Family Foundation. She's also a trailblazer, creating one of the first food halls in the Heartland. So she's incredible. We have Claudia San Pedro, who is the CEO of Sonic. She's also amazing and a Latina dad. So I love that we have 2 Latina founders at Vest. And then we have Maria Rocha, who is one of the first Black women to raise a VC fund to invest in promising companies. She's actually based in Connecticut. Then we have, there's one more that I'm missing. Of course, Sue Ann Arnold, who is a Give and Pledge member. She has her own foundation, the Arnold Foundation. She invests incredibly in the community, primarily when it comes to criminal justice reform. So she's just an incredible asset and super knowledgeable. And then, of course, me. So I'm like the least in the rank of accomplishments. I'm the least, and I'm just very humbled to be working with them.
No, you absolutely are not. And it's such, I love the diversity of women that you have and their different expertise because like you said, it's connecting women together and talking about, how do they advance in executive roles? How do they become emerging leaders? How do they maybe become our next elected official? And it's so important now. I was listening to the news today, and yes, they quoted that the jobs that are lost were all women. And how do we change that? And you've worked too, Erika. I think your background in working in government and economic development and changes. What what do you see that's different? Like as you're going through the program with Best Now, what are some new themes or what's new advice that we're sharing with C-suite executives and emerging leaders?
I think that what has been consistent and we have a lot of data to prove now is that building intentionally building companies that are inclusive by nature is actually not just a good thing, but it's a profitable thing. And it helps you keep, retain, and recruit the best talent out there. Not that we weren't hopefully conscious of that, but as more women are reaching positions of power and influence and getting those positions, I think they tend to be more intentional about taking those things like diversity and inclusion seriously, about looking at the data, about empowering and mentoring future leaders in the organizations to think and be mindful of equitable policies. I think that's one of the things that we're seeing differently. I think engagement within our communities. I believe one of the big shift that I hope capitalism continues to embrace is that I'm a capitalist. I believe in capitalism, but I also think that capitalism has not worked for everyone, and so we need to fix it. And I think that I'm more hopeful that particularly women in those positions are looking at how their companies can be profitable, but still be good in their communities and society as a whole. So I think that that's a little bit of a shift. I think that prior to that, when we had stakeholder meetings, when we had board meetings, it was more profit, profit, profit. And I think now we're seeing how that has not served as well. And I'm hopeful that it's going to shift into capitalism 2.0, where we're doing good things and doing good for our employees and the communities we serve.
That's really great advice. And I'm looking forward to continuing to follow the work both of Stitch Crew and Best. And thank you for everything that you're doing in the state of Oklahoma and in the Heartland. It's so very important. And we at the Heartland Forward team definitely look forward to staying in touch. And it's been so fun visiting with you. It's hard to believe we're already kind of at the end of our session. But to close out today, we're going to end with some just quick rapid fire questions. Think 1 or 2 word answers. And so the first question is, what is a company or innovation from the Heartland that you are excited about?
Well, I think I mentioned Avis, the Alexa for drug prescription for type 2 diabetes. I think that comes to mind immediately.
Yeah, that's a great one. So where is a Heartland city, not Oklahoma City, that you love?
Of course, Tulsa. I have to say Tulsa because I really do love it. And you're going to think that I'm saying this because we're speaking, but I actually love Bentonville. Actually, how we came to know each other and Stitch Group got to be a part of what you guys are doing is I was invited to your Heartland Summit, which, by the way, I have to say it is the best well-organized, intentional summit I've ever attended. I loved everything about it. So I'm hopeful that you guys are going to kick that off in the future once it's safe to do so. But I would say Bentonville, the culture, the park, the cycling, the industry. I mean, I just loved everything about it.
Well, we hope to see you soon in Bentonville for sure. And check out, we're hopeful for meeting again in the fall, hopefully, of this year. So fingers crossed. Okay, last question. What is the most fulfilling thing about being an entrepreneur?
Oh my gosh, so many things. I mean, just what is not to love? Listen to what I do for a living. I help women, and I'm hoping to close the funding gap for people of color and women. I mean, even on bad days, even when it's not fun to be an entrepreneur, that's what keeps me going. Just knowing that I'm serving a much bigger purpose than even Stitch Grew or even just helping entrepreneurs in general.
Well, you are absolutely an inspiration, and you're right. You have a really fun job. And thank you again for joining us. We look forward to being in touch, and we will be watching the work that you're doing going forward. So have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.